Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wordfence Live. Today, we're demonstrating how to identify and clean up a hacked site that was victim of the attacks targeted in the zero-day vulnerability for the Plus Addons for Elementor plugin. This vulnerability was discovered last week, and numerous sites were affected before it could be patched. Wordfence's threat intel team here has been watching these attacks closely, and you're going to hear the threat intelligence that you won't get anywhere else. Today, we're going to tell you where these attackers are coming from and what they're doing. We're showing you how to tell if your site has been hacked and how to clean up the malware that the hackers left behind. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back in a moment to get started. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Wordfence Live. My name is Scott Miller. I'm a customer support engineer here at Wordfence, and in a few moments, I'm going to be joined by our threat analysts, Ram Gall and Chloe Chamberlain. Let us know where you're at. I'm streaming live from here in Pennsylvania, where it's starting to warm up a little bit. Thank you, springtime. Last week, our threat intelligence team was alerted to an actively exploited vulnerability in the Plus Addons for Elementor plugin, which is installed on over 30,000 WordPress sites. Hackers found these flaws and were actively taking advantage of them. So the vulnerability was patched, but if you didn't update fast enough, it's possible that you may have been hacked and your site is compromised. So the Wordfence threat intelligence team has been watching these attacks very closely for the last week. And today you're going to hear the data that you're not going to hear anywhere else. So today we're looking at what these attackers are doing, how you can find out if your site was hacked, and how you can clean your site and get it back to where it needs to be. Remember to hit the like button below the video here, as well as the subscribe and bell buttons to be notified when we go live. It's every Tuesday, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Let's get started by bringing in Chloe Chamberlain and Ram Gall. How's it going over there, Chloe?
It's going good. It's a little bit cold today, but I think it's going to warm up just a little bit this week, so that should be nice.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I'm ready for it to warm up. Ram, how's it going over there?
I am not ready for it to warm up. It's been beautiful, and I don't want that to stop or end.
Yeah, it's always fairly warm where you're at, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm jealous. I think all of us like swag, right? I think everybody likes free stuff. So you're going to be seeing a link in the chat in just a moment, and you're going to want to click on it and submit your answer or guess, if you're not sure of the answer, to the following question, which is, what is a zero-day vulnerability? So you'll be seeing a link there in the chat. It'll ask for your email address. We're going to announce the winners. It'll be the first 5 to correctly answer the question, what is a zero-day vulnerability? And we will announce those winners at the end of the stream, and we will contact you and get the swag sent directly to you. So, Chloe, we were made aware of this zero-day vulnerability on March 8th. Is that correct?
I believe that's the right date. It was last Monday. I don't know my dates.
So last Monday.
Yeah.
So what's the deal here? What do we know, and what have we been seeing?
Yeah, so last Monday we were alerted to a zero-day vulnerability in I think it's the add-on. I can never remember the name. I'm sorry.
I was saying it earlier, and it's odd the way it was called. It's, I think, the Plus Addons for Elementor.
It's super awkward, that name. It's like in the Plus Addons for Elementor plugin for Elementor or something.
Yeah.
Like that. There's like 2 these and 2 4s. I don't know.
And it's a premium plugin, right, Chloe?
Yeah, so there's 2 versions of the plugin. There was the premium version and the free version, and the free version was unaffected by this. So if you're running that, you have no need to worry or anything. But the premium version of this plugin had some vulnerabilities in it that would allow attackers to log in as any administrative user on a site or register as an administrative user on a site. So it was pretty bad. We were alerted to it on Monday, but there's evidence that suggests that it had been being actively exploited for like 5-ish days before that, maybe 3. I think our earliest date of compromise was March 5th. That we know of so far. So it was known, or there was a vulnerability for a few days that nobody really knew about except for this attacker that was going out and exploiting it. So that leads me to what's a zero-day vulnerability. And a zero-day vulnerability is a vulnerability in which someone is aware of a vulnerability, but the developer or the person that produces or makes that like plugin or theme or software or whatever is unaware of that vulnerability. And so that's where the term zero-day vulnerability kind of comes in. Does that sound about right, Ram, or am I butchering that a little bit?
No, you've got it pretty much exactly right. Basically, a zero-day vulnerability, as you were saying, is a vulnerability that someone knows about, and generally we use it to refer to a vulnerability that's being exploited before it's been patched.
Yeah.
So, like that's sort of the implication, is that someone's exploiting it before it's being patched. But the actual definition is just that someone knows about it, and that someone is not the developer.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, WAFs can't always protect against all of these zero-day vulnerabilities. So a WAF is a web application firewall. I should clarify what that means real quick. And so that's basically what Wordfence is protecting attacks from succeeding and such. So one of the reasons that web application firewalls can't protect against some zero-day vulnerabilities in WordPress is because there's so many unique endpoints. You have AJAX actions that you just can't look for scripting tags when you're referring to privilege escalation vulnerabilities. So firewalls will protect against a vast majority of zero-day vulnerabilities. So like cross-site scripting, SQL injections, directory traversal, file uploads, and all those sorts of things. But there's certain little ones here and there that all firewalls can't protect against, unfortunately, just because of the unique nature of endpoints and things.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like this was for like logging in and registering, right? So like
Yeah.
it'd be really hard to like block someone doing that without knowing exactly what they were up to, without blocking people from using it just normally, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like you can't just block every request that has admin because you think it's an exploit attempt. So it's really hard to protect against those. But what's important is that how quickly certain companies respond to these zero-day vulnerabilities. So for example, on Monday, Ram and I, first thing in the morning, we woke up and we discovered that this was happening, and that now we knew about it. And so within 2 hours, we had WAF rules out, we had a blog post out, we had everything we needed to protect our customers out. So the blog post was to inform people, remove this plugin until a patch has been released. The firewall rule went out instantly to premium customers to protect their sites against any exploit attempts. So unfortunately, WAFs can't protect against all zero-day vulnerabilities, but if you're using a firewall, most of the times, all the time for Wordfence, most of the time those will be protected against as soon as we're made aware of it. Sorry, does that sound right, Ram? I feel like I was babbling.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Well, we like jump on these things pretty much as soon as we find out about them. Like like Chloe said, we got a firewall rule out, actually 2 of them, and she got a blog post set up in like 2 hours, and like we kept on finding more and more stuff wrong with this plugin. It's like, oh, I found another thing. Oh, I found another thing. It's like, wait, there's more ways to exploit this. Yeah. So that was fun.
The benefits of being on the mailing list and a premium customer right there within 2 hours on Monday when you two got going, you had some rolls out to our premium customers, and later on got the mailing out to alert everybody. So even if your site's infected with some other sort of malware or vulnerability right now, this guide and some of the things you're going to show us here, Chloe and Ram, you could follow along with this and help your site out, right? Doesn't just have to be for this specific compromise.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a bunch of different compromises. We'll let you know if something that you need to know about happens. Whether or not we're the discoverers, if it impacts enough of our customers, we will let you know.
And Chloe, you're going to walk us through, what to do on your site here. And, if you're watching right now or if you're joining in later here on YouTube and your site's having issues from something else, feel free to follow along here. These are going to be some good tips and good things to keep in mind. So what are the first things you're looking for, Chloe or Ram, whenever, if you're thinking you might have been impacted here?
Well, we look. Sorry, I like
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that this is a really nasty compromise, at least what we've seen so far from our site cleaning team. And so, like, the first thing you'll notice when you go onto your site, it's that it's going to be redirecting to all different places. Well, it's really one place, but everywhere you go on your site, it's going to be redirected somewhere. So it makes it really hard to clean, and it makes it pretty devastating. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and showing you how you can fix your site from this. Ram, do you want to talk about some of the specific indicators that we have right now?
So realistically, one of the first things you want to do is scan for indicators of compromise. For this one, the attackers are installing a malicious plugin. There's a couple of slugs. One is WP Strongs and the other is WP Staff. I don't know if we can get those pasted into the chat window. But those are the plugin slugs we've been seeing, and it looks like they might have actually been hidden in some cases. So you might want to check in your actual WP Content plugins folder to see if you see any plugins with those slugs. We are also seeing malicious administrative user accounts being created. Train WordPress AI at site.com. It's a few more. I'll paste them in, and Chloe actually looked these up. But
yeah, I think we have a graphic for this actually. So for the malicious administrative user account, so we can throw that up on the screen so you can have a closer look at what these administrative user accounts are looking like. But we blocked 1,900 attempts for registration as an administrative user with the username train WordPress AI at site.com. The next one was, we're seeing a lot of simple and then like a string of characters at gmail.com. And we blocked 1,178 attempts for registration as that email. And then we've also blocked 52 attempts, so a little bit less for users trying to register as an administrator with the sdas2da at asdasd.com email. So that's just kind of like a little random email. So those are the three like core administrative accounts that we're seeing being created on these sites. I'm sorry if you can hear my cats in the background. They're going at it.
Don't be sorry. Everyone wants. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the three core emails that we're seeing. So you want to look for those those attempts to log in with those emails and those emails being created as users. And I'll show you this again later when we go through the clean. And then in addition to that, I just wanted to let you guys know that we've blocked 4,000 attempts over the past week, which is really good. And then we blocked several unique IP addresses. The most common one we're seeing is 195.242.10.144. They're up on the screen right now. So it's these 5 that we're seeing being exploited the most. And then you have those 4 additional ones. So I'm not going to read out all the IP addresses because yeah. So there's those 5. Those are the top ones. So you can look through your logs and the Wordfence live traffic to see if you have any of these IPs showing up. And if you do, it's possible that someone's trying to exploit this vulnerability on your site, or they already have. So those are just some IPs to keep your eye out for. And then
we had a comment. Sorry, Chloe. Yeah. We had a comment, Ram, and you mentioned this, the WP Strongs. Somebody had mentioned that they were seeing that in the MU, and I believe that's the must use folder. Did we see that as well, or?
I hadn't actually heard reports that it was in the MU plugins folder, but that's actually a very good place to check as well. Just because that's not gonna, you're not gonna see that unless you look for it. MU plugins are kind of out of the way, so yes, definitely look there too.
Yeah. Okay, and so the administrative user accounts, sometimes they're deleting them and sometimes they aren't. So you might not actually see a user account in there. You might just see, someone logged in using this username and whatnot. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like if you don't see a user account, it doesn't mean that you haven't been compromised. It just means that they might have erased some of their tracks there.
Yeah.
And here on the screen is the list again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could be seeing numerous things here, outside of the plugins and the files that we mentioned, the administrators and IPs. Is there anything to look at, or does that pretty much sum up these indicators here?
I mean, run a Wordfence scan if you have Wordfence installed. I hope you do, because we would like that a lot. But run a Wordfence scan if you think your site might have been compromised, which is if you've had this plugin installed at any point in, the last couple weeks. And because it was a 0-day, having updated to the newest version as soon as it was available might not have been enough in this case. So if you've had this plugin installed, run a scan. If you have to put it on, the high sensitivity mode, that might not be a bad idea. If you want to, make sure that you're scanning folders outside of the WordPress core folders, that might not be a bad idea either. But yeah, at the very least, run a scan with something and check for any other things that might get picked up.
And I almost forgot to mention that that you might have some email alerts from Wordfence if you have it already installed, that you have administrators logging into your site, that it wasn't you and the IP address wasn't you. And it'll also say the username and the email. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. I have one pulled up for you. Here we go.
Wow, there's some kitty acrobatics there.
Wish I had that energy.
Yeah. So this email was sent from your website, WordPress 5.7, blah, blah, blah. A user with the username trainwordpressai.com or at site.com has signed into your WordPress site. You have the user IP. So this would be one indicator of compromise. Someone's logged into your site. It wasn't you. And then the other one I have is after my site was compromised, I have this nice long list of scan results showing that my file appears to be malicious. So that's a pretty big indicator of compromise if the Wordfence scan is telling you that you have all of this maliciousness. And we're going to show you how to clean all this up.
And you can check in live traffic, by the way, to see a log of, what IPs have attempted what on your site, even if you don't have the email alerts. I mean, you'll have to go to the scanner instead of live traffic to see, what files got detected. But, if you want to see, what administrators tried to log in, then live traffic is the place to go.
Yeah, Tesson in chat had asked where can they find the previous IP addresses in the installed Wordfence, and I believe that's what Ram was. That would be one of the first places you'd want to check. You'll go into your tools section, open up live traffic, and there you have the ability to use the show advanced options there, and you can then set the IP in directly. We showed the list of IPs there, so you could put all of those in and check for those. And Ram, would you recommend also checking like the access logs on the site as well, or should live traffic pretty much show it if the date goes back?
I mean, the thing about access logs is that they don't actually show you the payload of like a post request, so they might not be all that useful. And as Vast is saying, 2FA would not have actually prevented this just because the plugin literally bypassed a lot of like normal, safety checks and just gave you a direct login as whoever you want, or register as whatever role you want, which was really bad. So yeah, this as far as like what vulnerabilities this plugin had, it was kind of worst case scenarios all at once.
Now, Chloe, you're always trying to get your site hacked. Do you have one that is hacked currently at the moment?
So I tried to get it hacked over the weekend by the bad guys, but unfortunately they didn't want to hack my site. So I was very
They were scared of retribution.
Yeah. So I ended up spending yesterday hacking my own site just so I could have pretty much an identical replica of what we're seeing happen. So yeah, I do have a hacked site, but it wasn't hacked by the hackers, sadly. But I made it look like it was. So the scenario going on here is my site was running the vulnerable version of the plugin. It got hacked over the weekend, we'll say, and I got those notifications that an administrative user was logging in. I got the note from Wordfence that the scan detected malicious results. And I had users emailing me, letting me know that every time they access my site, it gets redirected to a spam site. So I, this morning, decided to get up and check out my site. And in fact, it is redirecting to malicious sites. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick, just so you can see this for a quick second. So share screen. We're here, and we'll go to, WordPress 7.poc walkthrough. Go, and we'll try to go to the site. It'll just take a moment to load because it's very slow. And it's very slow. So while that's loading, I'll just brief you on what we're going to talk about next. And so the next thing we're going to be looking at is if you have a backup. If you have a backup of your site, cleaning your site is literally bajillion times easier. It's as simple as like restoring the site and running a scan to make sure everything is still clean. And so I could not stress enough that you should always have backups in the event of a zero-day vulnerability, because zero-day vulnerabilities are always possible. They're always going to be there. It's just a thing that's going to happen. And unfortunately, like I previously mentioned, almost all WAFs can't protect against some of these zero-day vulnerabilities. So it's important that you have a backup in the case that it does happen to your site, so that you can restore pretty easily. And this is really taking a long time to load.
Yeah. Also, it's really important to make sure your backups are off-site. I don't know if you listened to the podcast last week, but oh, hey, that's a malicious redirect. Yep. Anyways,
I'm going to get rid of it.
OVH had a data center fire last week, and a number of companies lost literally all their data forever. So off-site backups, that is to say, a backup everything in a place that's different from, where the main content is really important.
Yeah. So even like just downloading it to your computer is technically offsite. So even that is okay if you can't figure out another way to do it. I think you can back it up into like a Google Drive. There's so many different places for you to put it. So just make sure it's not hosted on the same server as your site, because if your site gets compromised and it's on the same server, then it can be compromised as well. So you can't fully trust it.
Is it just me, or are all of your vulnerable sites on the same server?
Yeah. Yes, they are. I have
hopefully at least one of them will get hacked, that way, hopefully, bigger attack surface, because, eventually you're going to need someone to hack your sites.
Yeah, it's so odd. Literally all the passwords are weak passwords, and no one ever, hacks any of them. So
that's because they know it's yours.
All right. So you probably saw for a brief moment there that the site did redirect. I just got rid of it real quick because I didn't want it to hang out there. But the thing that sucks about this vulnerability, the compromise, the infection that's going with the exploit of this vulnerability is that literally every time you access any page on your site, it's getting redirected to a malicious site. So unfortunately, that means you can't access your WP admin dashboard to run a Wordfence scan and to do those things that you need to do. So it's a little bit harder for people that don't understand how the file system works and things like that, because it's a really tough compromise. So I'm going to dive in here, but the first thing you need to do before you do anything is you want to take a backup of your site. Again, backups are incredibly important. They're important when you do anything. So even though your site's compromised, you want to take a backup just in case you make an accident or accidentally delete something while you're doing your clean. So there's several different ways you can do this. You can do it with a plugin, which unfortunately, since we don't have access to the WP admin dashboard, we can't use a plugin. So the way that you can do it, and the easiest way to do it, is you'll want to find your vulnerable site. Hopefully you only have one in your hosting account. You should only have one in your account, because if not, all your sites will easily get compromised, especially with this vulnerability and the compromise that we're seeing. So I'm lucky I'm the one that exploited it, so I don't have 15 sites to clean. So in order to take a backup, you'll want to find the folder that it's in, and most of the times it's in public HTML if you just have one site. It could be different depending on your customizations and things. But what you'll do is, if you're using cPanel, you can simply just right-click it and then click compress, and you can choose a zip archive or a tar archive. And for this case, I'm going to do a tar archive. Compress files.
It's because you're elite.
And so that'll compress. And if you don't have a cPanel or a file manager that's really easy to use, you can also FTP in and create a zip and things like that. It might be a little bit more difficult, but I feel like you could reach out to your hosting provider and they'd be happy to help you, figure out how to make that backup from the back end.
We did get a question as if Updraft Plus is good enough to have it backed up, and if you back it up before you run into this issue, then any backup plugin that backs up off-site and backs up the database, because those are the two things you're really worried about, is going to do the job for you. So yeah, Updraft Plus is fine. It's awesome. There's a bunch of others that are also good, but
yeah, so my site actually has Updraft Plus installed on it, and it actually does have a backup. I took one before my site got hacked. Fortunately, I can't access the back end, so I can't show you that, but I could show you the backup in the folder. But we're not going to restore from a backup today because it's a little bit simpler, and I feel like there's a lot of good resources out there for you to do that step by step.
And it's kind of hard to restore from a backup, from a plugin-generated backup, if this is your first time being hacked and you can't access the admin dashboard.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Like it's doable, but first you got to get it into a working state first.
Yeah, so technically what I'm going to show you next is I'm hoping to get you into the admin dashboard so that we can run a Wordfence scan. Maybe we can restore from a backup at that point and all those sorts of things. So here's my compressed backup. So I'll close it, and we can just see it down here, WordPress 57, POC walkthrough, tarred. And so the other thing you want to make sure that you back up is your SQL database or your database. So if you have a cPanel, it will be like PHP My Admin. There's different ways to access it, but this is probably one of the simplest and most common ways that you'll see it. So you just click on that and you go over here, which should take you to your database. Again, I have several sites, so I have a lot of databases. And if you're not sure if you have several sites hosted in the same account, which again, you shouldn't, you can figure out which one you need to access by going into your site's directory. You can find your WP config file, view it, and then you can find, yes?
I'm going to completely go a little off topic. Sorry. No, go on. I got distracted.
No, you're fine.
The comments. I believe people are discussing blocking all IPs from WP admin except for like the administrator IP. That can cause a lot of problems because a lot of plugins require admin AJAX actions, many of which are public, and blocking all access to anywhere in WP admin by everyone except your IP could break things. So that's not a recommended way of securing your site. Just because there's a lot of stuff that can depend on, files in WP admin, even if it's, public facing.
All right, so you can find which database table you need to go into, your database you need to go into by looking at the DB name. So this one is 231. So I'll go over here. Oh, my cats are being quite obnoxious today. And so 231, and then you can click on export, and you can just click quick go, and it will go ahead and export the database for me. So now I have my backup. So now we have a backup of our files and we have a backup of our database. So now I think it's okay to continue on with the site cleaning. Is there any other first steps I missed there, Ram? Just to make sure.
Just that there's going to be occasional cases where the database is too big to be backed up via that interface. So you might have to do it via the command line. So here's a fancy, easy set of commands that hopefully we can get pasted into chat for how to dump your database via command line if you absolutely have to.
Awesome.
Since that should work no matter how big it is, it just might take a while.
Awesome. Cool. I totally forgot about that. I remember back on the site cleaning team, there was a few cases where I would try to back it up this way and it wouldn't work. So the next thing we want to go into is actually cleaning the site. So again, like I mentioned, we can't access the admin dashboard. I'm going to try and go to WP-login. and we can see it's probably going to take forever to load, so I will probably just leave it. But it's going to redirect me eventually, so I'll just get rid of that. We know that we can't access the WP admin dashboard, so we can make that first Wordfence scan and those first kind of like poking around. So the first thing I recommend doing is just swapping out the core files. So with this compromise, we're seeing all the JavaScript files on the site being overwritten. So the simplest way for this, let me back it up real quick. You have 3 options to clean your site. The first one is restoring from a backup, as we previously mentioned. If you have a backup dated, let's say before March 1st, that would be the first one. We have indicators of compromise indicating that sites have been hacked as far back as March 5th, I think. So if you go a couple days before that, just to be safe, then that's what I would recommend doing. And then run a Wordfence scan right after you're done to make sure that there's no more malicious files and such. So that's option 1. Option 2 is the way we're going to be showing you how to do today. It's manual with Wordfence. And then option 3 is you can hire someone else to do the site cleaning if you are totally just not comfortable with doing it yourself. Today, my goal is to hopefully help you feel comfortable doing it yourself, but I know that's not always the case. So if you want to hire someone to do it, you can do that. Wordfence, of course, offers a site cleaning service, so I recommend checking that out if you don't feel comfortable to do the clean yourself. And one thing is you could try and you have a backup. You could try and clean it yourself, and if you don't succeed, then you can always hire someone. But just give it a shot at first to see if you can do it yourself. So now back to what I was saying. So we're going to swap out the core files. So you can go to wordpress.org and you could go to get WordPress. And then you can download WordPress, the latest version, or you can download an older version if you need to, but I would recommend going with the latest version because hopefully you're up to date right now. And so you can just click download. For the sake of time, I already have this uploaded to my cPanel. So what you would do is you would take that downloaded zip of WordPress and you would go click on upload, and then you would select that file and you would upload it to your server. And then you would go over here. And so one thing I'd like to mention is it's always recommended to, take your site offline to clean it, or take it somewhere else other than doing it live. But it's not always easy, so I'm trying to show you the easiest way to do it. So I just wanted to mention that if you can take it offline to clean it, that's probably the optimal way to go. But for now, what we'll do is we'll take that WordPress zip that we just uploaded, and I'll go ahead and extract it because we need those files. And we'll extract it as cleaned WordPress, extract files. And so now we have a clean copy of WordPress. Where is it? Let me refresh this. Cleaned WordPress is right here. So go in. And so now you can see you have the WP admin, WP content, WP includes, all that stuff. And so basically the files that never change in WordPress are going to be WP admin, WP includes, and all these files right here. The only ones that are really going to change are the things that are stored in WP content. That's what houses, your plugins, your themes, your uploads, all those sorts of things. So right off the bat, you could just delete WP content. So let's see, I'll just right click it, delete.
Now, just for clarification, is this on your new downloaded 5.7?
Yes, this is my fresh new 5.7 file package, I guess, extracted. So skip trash, permanently delete that.
Don't delete your existing WP content permanently,
yes.
Especially if you haven't done the backup thing that we just told you
yes.
to do, because that would be very bad.
Yeah. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to my site again, WordPress 5.7. So this is my compromised site. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my WP content file and I am going to find my clean WordPress and I'm going to just drag it over there. So I'm adding my WP content back. And so now the next thing I need to do, the next second, probably the first most important thing, is actually going to be your WP config file, because that's what makes the connection, or it's what stores the credentials to make the connection to your database, and your database is what stores all your site's content and all that good stuff. So that is very important to copy over as well. So we'll go ahead and take that and drop it over into WordPress. And then it's possible you might have some, other folders in there and things, so you might want to drag those over as well. For this instance, I have old files and I have all sorts of stuff that I shouldn't have in there, because that's bad. You shouldn't have several sites again. And so you don't want to leave backups or uninstalled installations in your folder either, because, hackers can use those and things. So yeah, I've copied everything over that I think is important. Ram, is there anything else important that I'm missing off the bat?
I mean, not really. You everything you've said so far has made perfect sense to me. And I just want to say that, with replacing these core files, literally, if, the white screen of death is not as common as it used to be, but this is also one of the first things you should try if you run into that ever, because 60% of the time it works every time.
Yeah. And so basically all those JS files that were overwritten should be clean now technically for my core files. So that's good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder out here, and I'm going to say my hacked site folder. We'll go back into the directory that's housing the site. So this is the real site that's been compromised, and I'm going to go ahead and select all, and I'm going to move that over into, I already forgot the name of it, my hacked site. So where did it go? There, my hacked site. So now you got rid of all the hacked site. Your site's going to be offline for that moment of switching. And then you'll go back over to that cleaned folder, cleaned WordPress, and then open it up. And I'm going to go ahead and select all. And I'm going to drag this over into the site directory, the live site directory. So WordPress 5.7 POC walkthrough. And so we'll go back over there and make sure all those files were copied over. And now they are. So now let's go ahead and attempt and see if we can log into our site.
I do want to mention there is one thing I totally forgot, and that's htaccess files. If you've got like a weird custom htaccess file, which wouldn't show in the file manager unless you have it set to show hidden files, keep it, but try just using the default WordPress one initially, just because occasionally, some malware likes to add malicious stuff to htaccess files as well. So it's a good starting point. And then you can reintroduce your old one if it turns out to be okay.
Yeah. And so let's see if we can access this. Again, it's going to be really slow.
So if you're just joining us at this point, Chloe, your site was hacked. You went through the backup methods that you recommend. Always start with a backup and ideally store them off-site. And you replaced the WP includes and WP admin, right?
Yes, those folders along with the other, standard folders that are outside those two directories. Yeah. And then this is going to take literally forever. It's because I have all those sites in there, All right, so let's see, what can we do while we're waiting on that? Let me go over here, go back to my file manager, and go in here. So we'll take a look.
Look at the database. We could clean up the database because that might be infected.
Yeah, so I wanted to show the Wordfence scan picking up on those results, but you know what? We can. I'm gonna wait on that still because I had an easy way to show people how to do it. So you know what? Let's see. Okay, so I was redirected again. So there's a few things that you can do here. You can try and deactivate all of your plugins and themes, which is a fun way to try and get in and see if that works. Let's see here. Because every single file, every single JS file was overwritten, so everything is just being all crazy in there. And let's go in and let's try it again. What is it? WordPress 5.7.poc walkthrough. Let's try that. Okay, so I'm getting redirected again. Okay, so now we do know that one of the indicators of compromise that we were seeing is that plugins were being installed on the site, correct? So let's go take a look at our plugins real quick, see if maybe that has anything to do with it. Okay, so we have the WP Strong's plugin. So that's one of the ones that we alerted you to. So let's go ahead and just delete that real quick. Maybe that has something to do with it. We're not sure at this time because we haven't done any analysis or anything. So we'll just delete that plugin. We'll just skip trash and permanently delete it because we know it's bad. And I'm going to go ahead and try and access again. And let's see. Okay, we're getting redirected again.
And just to clarify, this was not in the Elementor plugin. This was in an add-on for Elementor because we are seeing this pop up in the comments. This is in the Plus Addons for Elementor plugin. Sorry.
And yeah. And so one other thing that might be happening is that your browser is caching that redirect. So I am going to try in another browser, which I have over here. And so now you can see I can access the WP login, which is good. Let's go ahead and log in. It's probably going to get locked, but maybe not. We'll see if we're lucky. Because, Wordfence will block you if you're using an insecure password, and I always use insecure passwords on these sites.
You got in.
Blocked most of the time. So look, now we're in, which is good. This is a good start. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment my Word or my plugin directory and see if I can still access everything just fine. Let's refresh it. Let's make sure everything's working good. So, if you're getting that redirect, you may want to try a different browser because it could be caching that redirect. Okay, so now you see that I activated my plugins again. And so it is making that redirect happen again, which is not good. So what we'll do is we'll go back over here. We will go up, we'll go into the plugins directory. And so this is really a really time consuming way to do this. But if you don't know any other way, this is a really good way to start. One of the first things you can do is you can replace all of these plugins with new clean plugins, but that might be a little time consuming. So let's go ahead and just comment these all out. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm trying to give you the most beginner friendly way to do this so that you can do this yourself. It may seem quite task heavy, I guess.
We still do recommend replacing each and every plugin and theme on your site with a known clean version if you have the time, though, because way safer.
And so the one plugin I need to finish this clean is Wordfence. So let's go ahead and swap out the Wordfence plugin with a clean version of Wordfence. I think I already have one installed in one of these directories real quick, just for the sake of time again. Let's see here. It was probably in this one. This one. I think it's in WP content. So you can go to, let me show you real quick. You can go to wordpress.org again. You could go to plugins, Wordfence, and then you can click download and you can just download it. It's again going to download a zip file, which you'll want to upload into your file manager. And so I'm going to just take this copy I already have on here just because everything is so slow. So I'll go ahead and I will move to, WordPress 5.7, plugins, move file, go over here, plugins, extract. Well, I'm just going to delete this one. I'll just rename it. I don't want to delete it. So, and then I'll just go ahead and extract it. Extract. So now I have a clean version of Wordfence. Let me go ahead and see if I can access my site now. Go ahead and go in. See, hopefully it's not going to cache anything.
Also, hopefully that malicious plugin isn't harvesting your login credentials.
Yes.
Change your login credentials after you do this, by the way, just in case.
Yeah. And so my super strong password of admin and something.
Hey, Wordfence is protecting you.
I know. I just tried to comment it out so I could log in. Oh, it already exists. Blah. So I'll just give it a star. And so admin. And so why I just commented Wordfence out is because it's protecting me from logging in with a bad password. Technically, you shouldn't do that, but technically you should be using strong passwords. So we're going to go back and we're going to reactivate our clean version of Wordfence, and adding those lines and stars and things essentially deactivates the plugin, just so you know what that's doing there. And I'll go ahead and refresh this. And Wordfence should come up. Great. Now we have, dang it. Okay, let me go back.
Maybe it's a theme. Did you infect your themes too?
Yeah, everything's infected.
Oh no.
Okay, let's see. You know what? It could be cached. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna open up a new window. This is getting crazy here.
I'm wondering if the fresh core files got infected because the malicious plugin was still active.
That's very possible. So I'm gonna try this real quick.
Yeah, I was going to ask that a little bit ago, Chloe. You, it looked like you removed that plugin after the core files were moved over, so that would be ideal to get rid of right off the bat, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go back into these plugins.
And by the way, during an actual site clean, this sort of thing happens all the time of like, wait, it got reinfected?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, there's a running PHP process in the temp directory. How is that happening? And then, we figure it out, and our site cleaning people are awesome, so they always do figure it out, but...
My cat just knocked over coffee.
Hopefully it was empty.
No. Well, I'll get it later. So, okay, I have a non-cached version working over here. I want to make sure that I don't activate the wrong version, so I'm just going to delete this bad version of Wordfence since I know it's bad. So I'm just going to delete it. Skip trash, permanently delete files. Cool. Okay, and so I got a non-cached browser over here. I have like 15 browsers open. So we'll go ahead and activate Wordfence, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that this is going to work now. And so we'll go to scan. Okay. Phew, there we go. So this is kind of how a site cleaning process might work for you. There's going to be things that happen, things that you're not familiar with. And so I'm hoping that, like seeing me go through these trial and errors are going to help you. Hopefully it didn't confuse you too much. But essentially what we've done so far is we've swapped out all the core files, and we've deactivated all of our themes and plugins because we know all the JS and or JavaScript files in those have been overwritten, so that it's not going to redirect me and such when I'm browsing through my site. And we've deleted the malicious plugin so far. We have a clean version of Wordfence installed as well, so this is allowing me to use Wordfence. So we'll go ahead and start a new scan and see what picks up now. This might take a couple of minutes. I probably should have started it before, but we can see all these old scan results from my email notification that I had gotten. And now we'll see unknown WordPress core version because I'm using a development version. And so this is going to take some time to go through. And let me think here while this is processing. So is there any questions?
I was going to say one thing to note, Chloe, you mentioned WordPress 5.7, and you were on the stream last week and gave an excellent walkthrough of WordPress 5.7. So if you have not updated yet and you're getting ready to, you're given a little bit of time to iron out some things, you can head over and watch last week's stream, and Chloe will walk you through some of the features there. Kathy and myself were also on the stream there. So if you're getting ready to update, check that out first.
We did also get a comment about how these kind of symptoms can also be caused, at least the site being redirected immediately by the site URL and the database being changed. And Chloe will get to that once we show you database cleaning.
Yeah. So the scan is running. So, while that's running, let's go ahead and check out our users to see if, there was any users created. Okay, so we have some old ones in here. So I know these are all valid, but then we have this train WordPress AI at site.com. We know that this is a bad user. So this is likely what happened. They got in because of the vulnerability that was being exploited. And so let's make sure we delete this and get rid of that user so they can't log back into my site. And one other thing you want to do here is you want to make sure that you reset all your passwords. You can act as if they've all been compromised because someone has had access to your site. So you'll want to change all those passwords so no one can get back in. You'll want to go to your settings, and you want to make sure that none of these settings have been modified. So that's going to be like anyone can register. Make sure they haven't, the attacker hasn't turned that on, and make sure that the new user default role is still set to what you have. And so we'll go down to Wordfence, check on our scan real quick, see how that's going. All right, it's running. It's going to take some time because we have quite the infection. So the next thing we're going to cover is, so we've cleaned most of our files. And so the next thing is that there's going to be, so there's all the JS files were overwritten. So we have a big issue. And so we've essentially replaced our core files so far. So that's good. And all we have left now are our theme files and our plugins. And so the Wordfence scan is going to come back with a list of all these files that were overwritten in your plugins. It's going to say that it has been maliciously modified. And it's also going to say that it differs from the core files. So from there, you can actually click repair all repairable files, which is right here. And so that's going to repair everything that Wordfence has a copy of from a repository. So those are going to be all the free plugins that you find in the WordPress repository. That's going to be the free themes, all those things. Unfortunately, we don't have copies of all the premium plugins and themes out there. So you can't just click repair all repairable files there. So what you'll need to do for that is you would need to go into your file manager again, and you would either need to download a copy of a file or of the plugin, a clean known version. So from, the Plus Elementor add-on site, and you'll need to download that, delete the old one, and re-upload the new one. Or you can get crafty and make a little script to do it for you. And so I actually did go ahead and create a script for you to show you what that would look like. Let me go check the scan again real quick and see how that's going. I just wanted to show you what that would look like before. Okay, there we go. Cool. Okay, so we have results found. We have 685. So we still have 685 files that need work or other things. So like vulnerable plugins and such, because that'll also be in there. We have content safety, so malicious links. And so what you can do is you can click. So let me show you real quick. The Plus Addons is a premium plugin. So if you look here, you don't have an option to click repair all repairable files. You can see the details and you can view the file and you can see what's going on in there. You can go here and let me see if I can find a copy of one that is so it's not showing. Ram, do you know why it's not showing me to repair all repairable files? Have I done something wrong for the default?
I'm not actually sure. I
Yeah,
don't think you've done anything wrong. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
That is very weird. Oh, you know what? I bet you it's because the themes folder itself has been renamed.
You're exactly right.
It's because it's not
You're
in
right.
the normal themes folder. Because typically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, because that's one of the tricky things. If it doesn't know if it's the normal themes folder or doesn't know what the theme slug is because you renamed the theme slug, it's going to assume that it's not legitimate and should be removed instead of replaced.
That's exactly it. Thank you for catching that. So right now you can't see.
Clever apparently caught that too.
Yeah, I was going to say good eye, Ram, and Yos as well saw that.
Yeah, so I forgot to change the folders back, and I'm kind of worried to do that because everything's going to be all crazy. But let's go ahead and give it a test with themes and not rename it to something else. And go back and let's go ahead and start a new scan. That's going to take some time. Okay, so what would happen here is that you would have the option to click repair all repairable files here, and that's going to change all those things. I've already went over that. So next thing is having a little script to do it for you. So we'll go ahead and show you that just because I know it's a little bit quicker. And so I have it over here. So cleaner script is what you would do is you would swap. So you would have print r search. So it basically is going to search all the files in this directory for JS files. So I'm going to change this to my target site, which is WordPress 5.7. And then it's going to go through and it's going to find all those files. And if we go to that Wordfence scan, I really wanted to show you the difference. It shows you the difference between the original file and the modified file. And that's what you can use to edit that script. It's going to probably take a second here, but I'll just show you from this. It's hard to pick out if you don't have that diff. So that's why I really want to show you the diff. But essentially this part right here is the malicious part, that top chunk there. And I know it's a lot and it's hard to see through all that. So let's just give it a second to load that, one of those results with a diff. Should get it from one of the themes.
In the when you're viewing the differences in the scan result, that section would be highlighted in yellow there, right, Chloe?
Yes, correct.
It's the different newly added code there.
Yeah. Let's see. Show log. How long are we waiting? But you can see I did I changed that theme folder back to normal, and so now it's allowing me to still use Wordfence and still scan everything, even though those are activated, because I got all the way here, which is good. And so that'll load for a moment.
So while the scan's going, what other things are you going to recommend at this point? You know, you're still cleaning stuff out, but you're going to change all of your passwords, right? And you're going to set up 2FA again on the site. You already walked through, you know, making sure that if you weren't previously allowing users to register, make sure that that is disabled. Make sure the default user role is set to what it was before. Anything else off the top of your head there that you're looking at initially? I mean, passwords are always one of the most important things after an infection.
Yeah, so make sure you have two-factor authentication enabled. Of course, it might not help protect against, you know, this certain exploit, but it will help you with other attackers targeting different things and such. Have two-factor authentication enabled for all administrators, because you should definitely have all of your administrators logging into your site. Use 2FA. Make sure that your firewall is optimized. So what we're going over now is kind of like post cleaning action. You want to make sure that you update your salts and keys. So I'll go ahead and show you that real quick while that's loading. So we go to WP config. We go ahead and click edit.
Oh, and Dave Harrington asks if you don't have WordFence Premium, you are out of luck. No, you are not, because our signatures, the vast majority of our signatures are available to our free users. There is a 30-day delay on the newest signatures, but from what I recall, the actual malware used by these attackers, I believe, are already hit existing signatures. So don't quote me on that, but I know I shouldn't say that, but
Well, that's a good question,
rate is
though, Dave.
really good.
Yeah. And so for the salts and keys, you'll go to your WP config file. You can copy this link here, and you can go ahead and enter it and go to it. Copy these and just swap it out right here. And then save changes. And then it will log me out. I shouldn't have done that. But I'll go back over here. Malware scan. Okay, so details, view differences. Hope I haven't gotten. I should not have changed my salts just yet, because it's going to make things difficult for me. So let's go ahead and see if things will be fine. Not now. And I got to change that. Site cleaning is challenging. It has its
the darn Wordfence protection is keeping you out again here, right?
Yep.
Well, are you trying to use a password that was in a breach, or?
My password is root, so yeah.
Okay.
It's been in every breach, maybe.
All right, so don't allow. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to comment out the theme folder again, and I'm going to just hope that that shows me the diff still there. And I'm going to go over here. That's fine. And then let's see if we can view the differences. The theme directory. Okay. So, you know, things happen. And so I would have to run another scan, I believe, with the theme folder hidden again. So, you know, things don't always happen the way that you expect them to when you're doing site cleaning. So, you know, this should show you a difference, and it should be highlighted in yellow, and it would look something like this. And so what you can do is you can take a script like this, and you can paste that payload that it showed you, what it marked as malicious, for those pro plugins and themes, and you can swap it here. And so this is what I have. And so I paste it here. So that string that Wordfence is giving you from the differences, you would paste that there. And so that's the string that it's going to be looking for. So I have a file get contents. It's going to go through the list of JS files that I have. And it's going to find each and every one and create a list. And then it's going to go through all of those. It's going to get the contents from that file. It's going to replace that string right here with nothing. So it's getting rid of that malicious content. And then it's looking through the file contents that we got. And then it's going to open those files one by one, and it's going to write to those files the new data that has removed this string with the nothing here. And so it's going to essentially erase all that bad stuff. And I'm going to try and get this script somewhere, so that you can use it if you need to. We could probably put a link to that in the description once we're done. But I'll try and get this script out. It's just something I scrapped together yesterday to.
There's a caveat, though. There are going to be cases where the malware has not only added itself to your files, but it completely replaced existing parts of your files.
Yes.
And in cases like those, that's where the sort of advice that, replace with a clean copy if you can really becomes useful.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily know what chunks it took out of the clean version to put in its own stuff.
Yeah, so I would honestly recommend just going the route of, swapping out everything, swap out the core files and then swap out all your plugin files. And you should be pretty much good to go there. That's probably the easiest way to take it. That's what I would recommend. So
but if you're feeling leet, then yes, regex and search and replace can speed this up immensely.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I will show you how to do this. So I would just create a file and I would say cleaner.php, create new file. I would go ahead and open this up by clicking edit, paste. So there we go. Make sure that your directory is the right one, save changes. And then I would go back to my site and I would go ahead and hit that file, test.php, or no, cleaner.php. And it should go through. It'll take a moment to clean all those files out. But essentially that's doing exactly what you would do if you just swapped out all those files. Sometimes those JS files are totally overwritten, as Ram mentioned. So the best route would be to just replace all those. And then I know we're running out of time here, but this compromise is also injecting malicious backlinks into the database. So we should just go over how to clean that out really quickly, so you know how to take care of that. So this will take a moment and it will be clean once we're done. So the Wordfence scan would, I'm getting lost here. The Wordfence scan would come back with content safety and it would say, this link was flagged. And we'll just wait a moment here. And so that's done. It should be all clean. I'm going to go back. I'm going to run my scan again.
Let's give you 1 second here, Chloe. And before I forget, I believe we have a graphic for our swag winners. And those swag winners are Adam, Evan, Aditya, Nathan, and Jeremy. Congratulations to you 5 who submitted the correct answer to our swag question, which was what is a 0-day vulnerability? And Chloe went over that. Do you want to give us that answer here in the meantime, Chloe? An explanation of what a 0-day vulnerability is?
Yeah, so a 0-day vulnerability is a vulnerability that is known to someone other than the developer, and typically we refer to that when it's something that's being actively exploited, but it's a vulnerability that's not known to the developer but is known to someone else.
And, as we go through all these steps to get your site cleaned again, if you're following along and you're trying to do this on your site, maybe you have a site that isn't mission critical and you have a little bandwidth to try these. If you get overwhelmed, as Ram mentioned earlier, we do have a site cleaning service, and the cleaners, As Chloe said, you run into these issues whenever you clean sites, but thankfully with our cleaning service, they're going to go in, they're going to find the malware, they're going to find the issues, they're going to clean out the database, everything's going to get cleaned. The cost is $490. It also comes with a 1-year premium license or a 1-year extension to your current license if you have a license. It also comes with a 1-year guarantee. So as long as you follow our post-cleaning instructions, which are pretty much, what we went over today, changing passwords, getting everything changed, FTP, SSH, the cPanel, so on and so forth. As long as you follow through that guide, you are then eligible for our 1-year guarantee. And Chloe, you spent time on the site cleaning team. You know that our team is the best at what they do, and these issues like this are going to get cleaned. So, if you're overwhelmed and you're having trouble, getting rid of this infection or another, that service is available for you. And if you're not sure if your site is hacked and you want to have us take a look, we also have an audit service. It's very similar, comes with a 1-year guarantee and a 1-year license. And, we go through and we have about a 60-point inspection, I believe. And we send you a report detailing what your current security standing is. And, if you're curious or you've had issues maybe in the past, but you're not quite sure, excellent service to consider, both of them, and your site will be cleaned.
Yeah.
You'll have peace of mind.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to, bleed my brakes, but I am totally going to pay someone to do that rather than bleed my brakes. And I feel like site cleaning is definitely one of those things where if it's not something you do on the regular, even if it's something that, you're reasonably comfortable doing, depending on how much time and effort you're willing to put into it, sometimes it is worth it to just have the pros do it.
Yep. I mean, I have experience site cleaning, and this was a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get a whole site clean in an hour,
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the infection, but with something this thorough, I'm impressed that you got it as clean as you did. Yeah.
It's one thing for Chloe to do it in an hour on her own, but when you're doing it live, that adds another aspect
Yeah, that was
as
just
well.
super impressive. I just want to say I'm really impressed. You got the admin panel up and running, got it to a place where there can be further cleanup performed. So,
well, thank you. I'm hoping that this gives people somewhere to start and try and handle it themselves, because I was watching this unfold and everything, and I just felt really bad for the people that don't have the experience to know what's going on and have the experience to do it themselves. So this, I'm hoping, is a good place for people to start and try and clean it themselves. And so with that said, even though it might be crazy, I feel like this episode was a little crazy, but we were cleaning a site in an hour. So so you can watch it again and pause it, and then you can email me and ask me questions if you need to. But so we have our results back after we ran that script, and we now have our malicious file, which is our cleaner file, because if you notice, it's picking up that string that I had in there to replace all those things. And now we also have post contains suspected malware in all these different posts. So that's the database part we're talking about. So we'll need to wrap that up. And that's the final thing that we need to clean. And so there's a couple ways to do this. And the first one is you can install a plugin, like search and replace plugin, and just search for the string. So let me go back to those scan results real quick.
I love those plugins, but don't leave them on your site.
Yeah. And so you can go ahead and you can click edit for any one of these posts to take a look at what's going on. Or maybe not right now. Okay. Maybe not right now, but let's go ahead and just go to one of the posts directly. We know Angry Cat has it, so we'll go ahead and check out Angry Cat and edit it. There's a picture of an angry cat for you. And we can just take a look at what's the thing that's being injected in there, edit SHTML, and we can see that we have this in there. So we're going to want to clean that up, and we'll go ahead and copy this. And one thing you can do is you can go through each post and you can just, remove the block, but that's not going to get all the other things in the like revision posts in your database and such. So you'll want to do a search and replace, or you'll want to do the database update directly. So to do it directly in the database, I'll go ahead and show you that real quick, is you would go to your cPanel or your hosting account again. You'd go into phpMyAdmin. You would find your database for it. So it was 231, I believe. Go in there, and you would go to posts. Since Wordfence alerted to you that it was in your post, you would go to SQL, because you would run a SQL query to get rid of this. I have it over here for us. And so it would be update WP underscore post, and take note that this WP underscore can be different for different configurations. Set post content equal to replace post content where this script is. This is what we were seeing injected into the database and posts. And one thing that I wanted to note is that in the when you went into the edit, when you went to edit the post, it did show quotation marks, but if you go directly into the database and you look at a post directly, you can see that it is not a quote mark. It is a single quote right here. You probably can't see that. Oh, there we go. So it is the single quote right here. So we'll want to make sure that we do that instead of the double quotes that you see in the editor. So we'll go back over here and we'll go ahead and we'll make it a single quote. And I want to escape the single quote because we're doing a SQL query. Single quote. Pop this out again. And this one.
As you can see, database cleaning is both an art and a science.
Yes. And so
I was going to say, things get crazy when your site gets hacked, unfortunately, as we have seen today.
This is why we have experts.
Yes.
This is why we are experts.
And so what you would do is you would change this script thing that we found, and we would replace it for nothing. So go ahead and copy this SQL query, update, copy, and we would go to SQL, and we would paste it, and we would hit go. Update. And so here I have a different prefix, so WPMJ instead of WP, so I need to change that to WPMJ. I need to hit go. And now we can see 143 rows were affected, so those were all removed. The other way you could do it again is installing a search and replace plugin, and then just putting that string into the search and replacing it with nothing. There's several different search and replace plugins for you to use. For the sake of time, I won't show you how that works, just because you probably don't want to keep watching me clean a site. And so yeah, so now we have our database cleaned up. We have our files cleaned up. If we go and run a Wordfence scan, it should come back all clean. And so the next thing you'd want to do is make sure your plugins are up to date, because of course this happened because of a plugin. So you want to make sure all of these are up to date. And as you can see, I don't have a little tag here for there's a new version or whatever, because I don't have my key installed. So you typically can just update it from here, but if not, you would go to the vendor's homepage or account page, wherever they host their files for you to download, and you would download it and upgrade that way. But make sure all these plugins are up to date so that you don't have any of those vulnerabilities. And yeah, the Wordfence scan should come back clean. See, it's probably still running. And I also wanted to highlight that we're using the free version of Wordfence right now. So we were able to do this clean fully on the free version, which is great and awesome. But I also recommend installing the premium version because it gives you a little bit of extra oomph and features. So yeah, that's something to note. I think,
for one thing, if you have the premium version, as soon as we found out and pushed that firewall rule to you, you would be protected, which is not the case for most generic web application firewalls.
Yeah. So I think that covers the entire clean. I think we got everything. We got the files all swapped out and cleaned up. We got the database all cleaned up. Oh, we should check our site to make sure it looks normal. Let's check that out real quick. And so there's the scan results. Content safety comes back. Malware scan is bad just because of that cleaner file again, and all of this. So that's good. It's good to note. And now we need to check our site to make sure it looks normal. It's probably like the final step, one of the final steps. And again, caching, yes. So one thing that you need to make sure you do is you clear your caches, you clear your browser caches, all that good stuff. And I am...
Yoast mentioned to not forget to rename the plugins and theme folders before you update everything. So that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. And so if we
and
go
there we
over
are.
Here, it looks normal. I think things are taking a while to load and whatnot, but I think it's normal. So yeah, maybe it's not normal. Maybe
Possibly the plugins need to be reactivated. I think if some of your
There you
content
go.
is relying on plugins, then you'd need to get them back in business.
Yep,
Especially
you're
if you use any
exactly
sort
right.
of site builder like Elementor, which I'm assuming that you use to build some of these pages because, you know, the
Exactly.
vulnerability is in the Plus add-ons.
And I'm not going to be able to log in, but the site
we have
is
Wordfence again.
yeah. So the site is cleaned. I didn't activate my plugins. If I were to activate my plugins, I can assure you everything would be working normal. So that's one of the last things you need to do. And then once you're done cleaning, take a backup of your site. So now you have a clean, or we think it's clean, backup of your site. And I think that about covers it.
Chloe, you did an excellent job there in 1 hour and 15 minutes with a lot of good content there. And, you know, for anybody who's just getting going with this or wants to try to clean their site, that was an excellent walkthrough. So good job. Alexander said late start, but got to see Ram back in action. I suspect you will be back next week, Ram. Anything to mention or cover before we head out here, Ram, Chloe? Anything else on top of what we covered there? There was a lot of good stuff in that.
Just thanks for watching, guys. And as you can see, site cleaning is an involved process that takes, you know, a great deal of expertise, and Chloe just absolutely rocked it. And yeah, like, it is amazing just even during the site cleaning process, because I've also done site cleaning professionally as well. And like, you always run into these things. Like, there's always that moment of, wait, I thought I got that. And then there's just like, oh no, it's this. And it's, you have to have a very like flexible mindset and adaptive to like all the things that can go wrong unexpectedly. So yeah, it's both an art and a science. Our people are definitely the best. So
I agree. We, as Ram said, you know, we really appreciate everybody tuning in and learning here with us and following along. Before we do get out of here, one thing to note, we're hiring. Head over to defiant.com. Check out the employment page there. We have a few new positions there, I believe. So check that out. If you know anybody who would be a good fit after you check it out, we're offering a $500 Amazon gift card if you refer a successful candidate. So pretty cool there. Also, Ram and Chloe mentioned earlier, you know, we got our premium rolls out within a few hours, and then not long after got a mailing out to our mailing list. So if you're not already, head over and get onto the mailing list. That way you can be alerted about these issues first and foremost, and you know, you might save yourself the trouble of what we just saw of going through and having to fix everything. So,
but back things up anyways too, because that can also save you trouble.
Back it up.
Mailing list and backup, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So yes, from all of us here at Wordfence, we appreciate your time and you stopping by. We're going to be back next Tuesday at noon Eastern time. That'll be 9 a.m. Pacific. Go ahead and hit the like button below the video if you found this helpful. You can subscribe and hit the bell. We'll send you a notification right whenever we're going to go live, and we hope to see you then next Tuesday. Thanks again, everybody, and have a good rest of the week. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.